Hey, so I'm live here. We're having a little bit of technical difficulties because the other link wasn't working. So I am going to see if I can get people over to this new link. Didn't have time to put my contacts on today, so I'm going to be using these glasses, which I don't usually wear in my videos. Um, let's see how I can share this link. So I'm not sure what happened since it's my first live, but with the other link, I I had it already ready to go. We have people waiting on it, and somehow I could not get it to start. So let's see what I can do about that. Sorry, bear with me one moment. Let's see. If I just put a note on the old link. Let's see. Sorry, just one more second. All right. Let me see. Probably if I comment on the old link. That's so strange. I don't know how that happened. We had the other link all ready to go. So strange. It seems like it just like the other link said that I was supposed to be doing it from my phone. Let me see if I can just put a comment on the other link. So sorry, just one more second. Technical difficulties. Okay. There's got to be a way to comment, right? Maybe it'll work from my phone. Hold on one second. Well, technology does not always work the way you expect. All right, let's see if this is going to work now. This is so weird. Okay. All right. I think it's finally working. Okay. Can everyone hear me? If you can hear me, just give me a little thumbs up so I know you can hear me. I have a mic connected, but it's really weird. Like, so this is my first time doing YouTube live, and I thought it would have like a little bit more functionality, a little bit like more to kind of give me some feedback. I did try it out yesterday and everything was working fine. So I apologize about the link not working. Yeah, that was weird. So, thank you guys so much for being here. Thanks for the thumbs up, so I know you can hear me. Um, so welcome. I don't have my contacts on today, so glasses are on so I can see what everybody says. So thank you for being here. My first YouTube live. I'm happy to answer any questions, or you can either put them in the chat. I do have a couple questions that were emailed to me from people who were not able to make it today. Um, for those of you who may not know me yet, people watching this on the replay, my name is Amalia Valle. I'm a health coach and a flight attendant and a mom, and I wear many hats in my life. So, my channel, Busy and Healthy, is all about wellness, especially wellness for busy people who they want to be healthier, but they need a way to just make it a little bit easier and a little bit more fun. So, it's not about perfection, it's not about spending hours in the gym. It's not about beating yourself up about the perfect diet, but it's just finding ways to incorporate, better habits, habits that really support your long-term goals. And then, of course, there's a big travel component because I am a flight attendant, so I do travel a lot. Both for work and with my family. So I always love to share those travel experiences with you as well. And what I try to also do is explain how I manage to stay healthy while I travel and while I juggle all the things, which sometimes it is a lot, right? We're all juggling a lot of things. But when you create these habits, it does become a lot easier. And that leads me to something else I wanted to share with you if you haven't heard about it yet, which is Patreon that I just opened. It's a little community that I'm starting called Clean Eating Club. And it's really about this same theme. It's about creating healthy habits that just make it easier to do all the things. So, one thing I hear a lot is that people would like to eat healthier, but either they don't know what to cook or they feel like they don't have the time, and it just all feels like a lot. So I hear this over and over again, and I get it. I really, really get it. I'm a busy mom. I work. I'm juggling a lot of things, and I do love to cook, so that helps. But, sometimes it can still be a lot. And I've learned a lot of easy ways to pull together healthy meals that are still delicious because I do love to eat well. So there's a lot of things that I've learned along the way of how to make it easier to eat healthy, make it a little bit more fun to eat healthy. And so that was really the idea behind Clean Eating Club. You get a recipe from me every week with photos, sometimes a private video of, just how easy it is to put together, just showing you the steps of how you put it together. And then that recipe becomes a part of the library. So there's every time we add a new recipe, it's going to become a part of the library in the community. So you'll always have, this personal library to be to pull from anytime you want to cook something for dinner, you don't know what to make, and it'll be right there for you. And then you'll also have the community aspect, which is other people in the community, including myself, that you can lean on for support. And, maybe if you're struggling that week with your health goals, it doesn't only have to be about healthy eating. It could be, I just can't find the time to exercise. What do you guys recommend? What could help with this? Or I'm going to a party at the end of the week, and I feel like I'm not going to be able to stick to eating healthy. What can I do? So you'll have this space where you can lean on for support, and I will be active in it as well to answer questions. And then another component of it is these lives. So this live is for everyone, but in the future, it's going to be for this community to come hang out, ask any questions you have, just check in about anything you want to check in. So that's also going to be a component of this community. And the best part is, I want to keep this super affordable. So it's just going to be $9 a month. The price may go up in the future, but it won't for the people who already start at $9 a month. So if you start at that price, that's what it's going to stay for you, because I do want this to be something really affordable and really easy. None of us needs more stress in our life. So that being said, if anyone has any questions either on that or honestly just on healthy eating, wellness in general, feel free to pop that in the chat. I'm happy to answer any questions you have. Keep in mind, I'm not a doctor, so I can't give any medical advice. But if you just have any questions on healthy eating, healthy lifestyle, that kind of thing, I can totally help with that, and I would be happy to. And then we also have some questions that were sent in. So I don't see any questions yet in the chat. So if you have any, feel free to pop them in. In the meantime, I'm going to start out with question that was already emailed to me. There's a couple. So I got a question: what inspired you to start Clean Eating Club? So yeah, it's really that I just kept hearing the same thing over and over again, that people want to eat healthier, but it's hard because they're tired, they're busy, they're juggling all the things. So at the end of the day, it's easier to call Uber Eats, or get another pizza, or just grab whatever, popcorn for dinner. And I get it, because sometimes it really is a lot. And hey, I have my takeout nights as well. It's totally understandable. And it's really not about perfection. It's just really about, how can we make this fun? How can we make this, so it doesn't have to feel like, oh, I have to go cook a three-course meal every night. I have little systems in place, like I'm a big fan of quinoa. My husband's Peruvian. We eat a lot of quinoa in the house. So that's I'll batch cook it. I'll make quinoa for several days. So I already have a healthy thing in the fridge that I can grab. And then it makes it easier because I only need to like just cook a protein, or I'll always have some spinach in the fridge that I can just throw in. So I've gotten the habit of just throwing together easy healthy things, and I do like developing recipes, so I have kind of my own personal library, and it is fun for me personally to find more of those kind of things, like easy, healthy things that I can throw together. So it's something that I'm constantly working on personally, and then I love to share it with others. So that's really where Clean Eating Club came about. It's something that I was naturally sharing with people, like, look, you could just throw this together and it'll be easier than you think. And people would be like, "Wow, that's I had no idea that I could just put that together." One thing that I love lately is I make this pizza for work. I love pizza, and when I go to work at the airline, I make this pizza that's made out of quinoa. So it's actually like a high protein, gluten-free pizza. I do eat gluten-free, so all the recipes that I share are gluten-free. If you eat gluten, that's fine, but all my recipes are gluten-free. So yeah, so I bring this to work, this pizza, and then other flight attendants would see it and they're like, "Oh wow, you have a pizza? Where'd you get that?" And I'm like, "I made it." And they're like, "Aren't you gluten free?" I'm like, "Yeah, this is actually made from quinoa." And so they got, it's something that I end up just sharing naturally, and I love to share it. There's a couple questions that came out. Okay, so Laura is asking, "Hey Laura, will there be vegetarian options?" Yes, absolutely. Every recipe some of the rest I do eat meat personally, but I will always offer ways to make it vegetarian and vegan. And really, it's pretty easy to change them. Anytime I share a recipe, I will always share this is how you can make it vegan. Um, and yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And let's see, there's another question. What are your must-have pantry staples for clean eating? I love this question. So that's one thing that actually you will get when you join Clean Eating Club. You get a PDF from me about all my pantry staples that I recommend to make it easier. But just off the top of my head, things that I always have around quinoa, which I already just gave a whole monologue about quinoa. So quinoa definitely. What else? Sweet potatoes is another big one. That's a really easy thing to keep around. You just slice them in half, roast them in the oven. Taste delicious. They last the whole week. It's easy to keep around. I always have some kind of greens in the fridge: spinach, kale. Um, let's see, almond flour. I do love to bake. I do a lot of gluten-free baking, so almond flour is a must. I also use it in my cooking as well. Um, let's see, coconut milk, that's another big one because it's very easy to, I love making sauces, and making a sauce is actually a lot easier than you think. A good friend of mine, Jerome, he's French. He taught me a long time ago all about like the basics of making a sauce. And it's easier than you think once you kinda have a knack for it. So, coconut milk is a really easy way to make a sauce. We try to eat non-dairy at home as much as possible. My husband is a bit lactose intolerant, and I also don't like to have a ton of dairy. So, we when I make a sauce, it's dairy-free usually, and I do use coconut milk. So, let's see, there's another question. What city have you traveled to or visited or that has more gluten-free options? Oh, that's an interesting one. So, let's see. There's domestically, I would say the cities that I've seen with the most gluten-free options are LA, which probably doesn't surprise anyone. LA, Seattle. I actually have a video about Seattle and their gluten-free options. Boise. Boise actually blew my mind. Boise, Idaho. They have an amazing conference there. The Craft and Commerce Conference, which I've been to for the past 2 years. It is such a cute little city. I'm gonna do a video about it eventually, and it's got a lot of gluten-free options. I was actually shocked. It's pretty cool. Yeah, so those are the domestic cities. Internationally, I would say I think Medellin, Colombia has a lot of options just because the the style of the food, like arepas are like a big thing there rather than bread. So, and arepas are naturally gluten free. They're if you haven't had them before, they're made of from corn, and they're delicious. There's different styles. There's Venezuelan arepas and there's Colombian arepas. But I find it pretty easy to eat gluten free in Medellin as well. Mexico also for the same reason, because usually they use corn tortillas. So, yeah, I think those are like my top picks. I will say I personally find that I am less sensitive to gluten in Europe or, even in Asia when I've been, because it's just it's done a bit differently. In the US, we use a pesticide called glyphosate, and it's not only used for gluten and wheat, but it's heavily used for that. And it's not that it's not used in Europe at all, because it is a little bit, but it's far more limited. And a lot of people with gluten sensitivities, because I am not celiac, I am gluten sensitive. I have Hashimoto's and autoimmune condition. Some of you might have heard me talk about that. And so I am sensitive to gluten, but I've found in certain places I am less sensitive. So in the US, I am pretty strict about being gluten free, but when I go to certain other places, sometimes I test it out a little bit and it sometimes it's not quite as bad. Let's see. Okay, Laura's saying there's 4 people waiting on the other link. Yes. I'm trying to think, how can I share this link? I tried to share it as a comment and for some reason it wasn't working. Oh man. Let's see. How could I do that? Yeah. It's not giving me the option to write it as a comment. I wish I could. Let's see. Maybe that. Okay, it's letting me put it in the chat now. Excuse me, guys. All right. Hopefully that will work. Oh, thank you so much, Laura. I appreciate that. So, there's another question. How do you make clean eating exciting and not repetitive? Struggling with it currently. I hear you. Yes, that is an excellent question. Totally get it. Well, this is a part of what I like to do and why I'm creating Clean Eating Club. So, a part of it is to show you that it can actually be a lot of fun. It doesn't have to be boring, doesn't have to be salads all the time. I love salads, but I don't want to eat them just, for every meal. So, there's a lot of things you can do. Like, one of the things I love to do is I take my favorite foods and I kind of healthify them. Like, I just make them healthier. Like, I love chocolate chip cookies, and so I found an awesome recipe for gluten-free chocolate chip cookies. And they're not just gluten-free because let's face it, things can be gluten-free and not necessarily that healthy. So it's gluten-free and healthy. I modified the recipe a little bit and now I just make my own chocolate chip cookies all the time. And you would think this takes a lot of time, but it actually doesn't. It's these kind of things that become a habit. So, I like to experiment a lot with different things. The other day I made a mango chicken dish, for my family, and it was delicious. I mean, not to toot my own horn, but it was delicious. And it was a recipe I came up with, I created, which I will be sharing in Clean Eating Club. And it's like things like that, it can be a lot easier than you might think. So, part of it is just a willingness to experiment and have fun with it and just think a little outside of the box, think about what you would love to eat. Like, if someone was to say to you, you can eat whatever you want, what would you like to eat? And then you just take those things and say, how can I tweak them? How can I make that a little bit healthier? So, if I want chocolate chip cookies, well, if I make them with almond flour, that's going to make a big difference. Um, if I want pizza, but I make the crust out of quinoa, then actually I've elevated it to a healthy food because quinoa is very nutrient dense and it's high in protein. So it just makes it a lot easier, when you just think, how can I substitute things and swap them out and have fun with this? And you make it a little bit of a challenge. And in that way, it doesn't have to be boring, it doesn't have to be repetitive. Let's see. Do we have any other questions? There was another question that we had sent in. Let me see. Okay. What makes Clean Eating Club different from other wellness programs or meal plans? Great question. So, this is really not strictly a meal plan. It's not like this is what you will be eating for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's really just a way to teach you how you can put together easy, quick meals and also offer support around a healthy lifestyle. And it doesn't mean that you have to necessarily be eating like healthy nonstop. Like you do what you can. But we will have this recipe week that, that we'll try out, and if like let's say you try to make it doesn't work out, you can just write in right away, hey, why isn't it working? I tried this, this is this didn't work out. And then we're creating a library as we go of different healthy meals that we can put together easier. So it's really about teaching you to develop that habit that I've developed. So, and it's just something that's going to come easier and easier. So rather than just kind of like, here's your plan, you must stick to this, there's a lot more freedom around it where you're learning to create this habit. And I'm offering you the support as you create this habit. And so I like to think that, that this is like rather than spoon feeding it to you, like this is a skill that you are gaining. So I think that's a big component of why this is different. Also, we have the community aspect. What I would love in the future as we grow as a community is that maybe you find an accountability partner and it makes it easier for you to work on these things. Like let's say your goal, even besides healthy eating, is just working out several times a week and you have this accountability buddy and you check in with them. And, I can also be part of that accountability because I'll also be active in the community. So even though it's called Clean Eating Club, it's not only about clean eating, it's also about offering support for a healthy lifestyle because yeah, it can be hard doing all the things. Let's see. We have another question in the chat. Can you share your tips for clean eating while traveling or eating out? Yes, good question. So, a lot depends where I'm going. So, as we were chatting about earlier, there's some places that are easier to eat healthy or eat gluten free than others. When I'm traveling work, I usually pack at least something of my own. So at least for the plane, I do avoid the plane food because it is pretty processed. So I do bring my own food for the plane. These days, it's been that gluten-free pizza. That's been like my favorite thing because it's just so easy to make a big pie and pack it up to go, and it heats up really nicely. Um, but in terms of other things that I plan, so one thing I've been doing recently, I don't have it next to me, but I have these like they're like these little spirulina and chlorella tablets, and they count for both greens and protein. So and they're just like really easy. You just it's just like a little tiny chewable tablet. So I've been throwing those in my bag lately so I have like added nutrition with me, like in case there's not many vegetables around. If it's a long layover, I usually will get some food at some point. I have an app called the Gluten Free app, or I think it's called Find Me Gluten Free, and it's really easy. It tells you automatically. Where all the gluten free stuff is. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be healthy, but a lot of those places are very health oriented. So that's really helpful as well. But yeah, it's kind of a combination of preparation and doing a little research on the place that I'm going. I see another question. What do you recommend as a healthy snack for a long car trip? Ooh, I like that one. So there's a lot of things. I guess it depends how long the car trip is. I have a what is the word? Protein bar that I love to make. And that's what we pack a lot for our car trips. Like we love to go to Disney. So when we go to Disney, usually I do make a whole batch of these protein bars and then we take them with us. If you go to my channel, it's one of the videos. I think it's just called easy protein bars or something, but it's in my videos. There's also a healthy eating playlist if you go to my playlists, and it's in there, and that one is really good. It's pretty easy to make, and it keeps really well. You want to keep it in the fridge up until you go, but after that it keeps really well. And I swear they taste like chocolate chip cookie dough. They're really really good, and they're good for you. So that is like an easy thing that you can take with you on the go for a road trip. Highly recommend that. Um, let's see. Any other questions yet? And we had another question that was sent in. How do you recommend someone start eating clean without getting overwhelmed? Great question. So, I am a big believer in just building up like small habits that lead you in the direction that you want to go. So, I think especially if you're just starting to eat healthy or you want to eat healthier, think of adding rather than subtracting. So the only thing I ever really tell people to like just cut out completely, and it's my opinion, but I do recommend this is cutting out soda, because that's soda's got a lot of funky stuff in it and and a ton of sugar. And if it's diet, it has a lot of other stuff. And your body just absorbs all that stuff much quicker when you're drinking it. So that's the main thing that I recommend, just really eliminating. Um, I do recommend as much as possible taking out processed foods, bags of chips, things like that. But other than those things, don't worry too much about, I have to cut this, I have to do that. I'm not a big fan of these kind of extreme diets where you're just cutting out things and making yourself miserable, because you're not going to stick with that. You have to do something that is sustainable, that you can actually enjoy, and that becomes a part of your life. So, and because that's the only reason I've been able to stick to this, because I like to eat, like, like I love food. So I knew for myself when I got my Hashimoto's diagnosis back in 2016, and I researched it and I learned that a key component into putting it into remission is a healthy lifestyle. I knew I had to change the way I eat it. I ate, sorry, and I knew the only way to do that was to really just make it fun for myself and not feel deprived. And that's what's worked for me all these years in sustaining this. It becomes a part of your life. So think of adding rather than subtracting as much as possible. Think about adding greens and think about, like the most nutrient dense foods you can. So when you sit down to eat a meal, look at your meal and think, do I have a lot of nutrients in this meal? Do I have a good amount of protein? Do I have my vegetables in here? Do I have some healthy fats? And if you approach it that way, I think you'll get a lot less overwhelmed, and the fact is, if you're adding a lot of nutrients into your food, you're going to be a lot fuller and a lot more satisfied, and your body's going to feel a lot better. So it becomes easier. One of the key things for me is when I saw how much better I felt from eating healthier, that feeling was addictive. It's the same thing for working out for me. I also get tempted to skip workouts, like I'm a human too. But, I know the difference of how I feel when I don't do them. So it kind of keeps me going, and if that makes sense. So I just build those little micro habits that will get you in the direction that you want to go. And it's really, I would rather see someone, go very slowly and just slowly, you know stop drinking soda and just add more greens in and work on that for a while, then do everything at once and then give up after a couple weeks. So I hope that that helps a bit. I see a couple more comments in the chat. Um, how do you deal with cravings or emotional eating? Sometimes I can't with the temptations. Yeah, I hear you. Honestly, when I'm craving something, I make it for myself, a healthy version of it. Like, that might sound kinda nerdy. I just like, that's really what I do, and I mean, listen, sometimes, if I want to get a particular dessert or something, I get it, you know? At the end of the day, it's really about 80% of what you eat, that's the most important thing. If you are eating an 80% awesome diet and like once in a while you have an ice cream or something, that's fine. There's really no shame about this. And I do that myself. But in general, what I do is I like to make healthier versions of what I want. So, like I was saying before, I love chocolate chip cookies, so I'll make them myself. If I was to find a healthy version somewhere else, I would buy them, but I really don't see that often. But but I will go out for ice cream with my family, or if we're eating somewhere and there's an amazing looking dessert and it's gluten free, yeah, I'll have it. you know. But it's about finding that balance. So definitely don't beat yourself up about cravings. Um, but see where you can find a healthier version. I remember there was one day that I really wanted cookies for some reason. Apparently this is a common craving of mine. um, and I didn't have the time or energy to make the chocolate chip cookies, but I had some dark chocolate and I had some pecans, and I just combined it together, and you know what, that actually totally satisfied the craving, because I wanted something sweet, I wanted chocolate, and I wanted something a little bit crunchy. So that kinda made it work for me, if that makes sense. I hope that answers your question. Let's see. Okay, Jerome is saying 5 hours. Oh, I think that was for the road trip, right? Yeah, that's a long road trip. Well, I think the protein bars will definitely be helpful. I do recommend taking those with you, the homemade protein bars. But since it's that long, at some point you might want to stop somewhere. And that's where a little bit of research can help. If you research in advance what are healthy options in the direction that you're going, then you can kind of plan your stop around that. So you know that okay, like 2.5 hours in, there's gonna be a place that has great, great salads or grilled meats or something, and then okay, that's where we're going to stop at that time, and then you have your healthy protein bars with you for the rest of the trip. So I mean, if you wanted to do it all just bringing food and making no stops, then I would say quinoa is a really easy thing to bring with you, because quinoa, it's pretty shelf stable. I wouldn't keep it overnight, but it's pretty shelf stable during the day. You can toss it with some salad, with some chickpeas, because chickpeas also don't need to stay in the fridge, at least not during the day. So that could be an easy thing if you don't want to have to make any stops. And I have done that as well for the plane. I'll make these like little quinoa salads sometimes that can last all day, and if you use plant-based proteins like quinoa or lentils, then you don't have to worry about refrigeration, and they taste good at room temperature. So those are some options as well. Kyle says, I miss veggies in my diet. Yeah. Yeah, veggies are our friends. They help a lot. They really help a lot. As much as you can, try to get them into your diet. I know it's not always easy. That's one thing why I started carrying these little spirulina tablets, because if since I do travel a lot, sometimes it can be hard for me to get them in. So I'll have those in my bag. But at home, I always have some kind of greens in my fridge. And whatever I'm making, I can just throw them in. Like spinach is the quickest thing to cook. Literally, whatever you're cooking, just throw it in, it'll wilt, and you can just serve it with the food. That's an easy way to just always make it possible. There's another comment. Katrina says micro steps count. They all add up. Yes, absolutely, Katrina. Yeah, that is so true. They all count. They all add up. It's really about progress, not perfection. You know, we don't need to be perfect. You don't need to put that kind of pressure on yourself. You do what you can, and uh, making conscious choices. Really, more than anything, is about making conscious choices, because when we're really tired and we're really stressed, the easiest thing to do is just open a bag of something and just munch, and I get it, because sometimes we have those days, we really do. But what can make it easier if you're making conscious choices, like, whenever you sit down to eat something, do I really want this, or am I eating it because it's there, or is eating this going to support my goals? So sometimes it is like, "Hell yeah, I want an ice cream," you know, and then you go for it. But if it's a conscious choice, that's really what makes the difference. There's another comment. Do you follow any specific fitness routine alongside clean eating? Like maybe a workout routine? Yes, well, kind of, yes. So I personally am a big fan of working out at home. That's what I like. I travel so much for work. I don't sometimes on my days off, I don't want to go to a gym. You know, I'll use a gym when I'm on a layover, but at home, I have all my weights. Lately, I've been really into kettlebells. I don't know. I just think they're fun. So I've really been into strength training lately. There's a great girl on YouTube. Her name is Body Fit by Amy. She's great. And here, I'll put it in the chat. Body Fit by Amy. And I really like her videos. And for me, that is like the easiest way to stay consistent that I plan to work out at home. I pop on a video from Body Fit by Amy. She tells me what to do. I have my weights there and I just do it. And that really helps me out a lot in staying consistent. I do love to take classes as well. I actually took a jazz dance class this past Sunday, and that was so much fun. I love dance, I love it a lot. But I don't always have time to go to a class. So when I have time to go to a class, I think it's such a fun way to mix it up and add some variety and some inspiration. But for me personally, what I've found works the easiest is just having my weights, and I have my weights, I have my yoga mat, and I just, you know, it makes it so much easier to fit it in because sometimes we don't have time to run to the gym, but if you have it all there ready for you, it's all set up, it's easy, and that's a key component. Just make it as easy for yourself as you can. Like if I know I have a busy day, I'll just like at the start of the day put on my sports bra, so then even if I have to make calls, I have to do a couple other things first. My sports bra is already on. So I've already eliminated that kind of inertia of getting started because, it's like, well, this is already on. My yoga mat's already out. The weights are already there. All right, I'll just go for it. So, let's see. I have another question. Liz says, "How do you feel about frozen veggies?" Hey, Liz. So I think frozen veggies are great, actually. I think that can be a great option. Ideally, try to have organic if you can. And yeah, I use them myself. I think it's good if you can also have some fresh ones around at least sometimes. But yeah, I think they're great. One of my favorite frozen veggies to have is what is it called? The green beans, the string beans. Is that what in Spanish it's called vainitas. We call it vainitas, but it's like the string beans, the long beans, and we have them. I always have some in the freezer. Those are really easy to cook. They're really easy. You throw them in, you steam them for a little bit. One of my favorite things to keep around, I forgot to mention that one earlier when someone asked me about the pantry, is coconut aminos. It's like a substitute for soy sauce because soy sauce has gluten, but actually I think it tastes a lot better. And you just add a little bit of that. You steam the green beans, and it comes out awesome. So yeah, I think frozen veggies are totally fine. No shame in that whatsoever. Let's see. Love string beans. Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's really helpful to have stuff that doesn't go bad right away. Absolutely. Yeah. I try to always keep some greens in the fridge, but sometimes it's not enough for the whole week, and sometimes it's easier to just throw in the veggies. So okay. So any other questions? I think I've answered the ones that were sent in. And yeah, just overall, just my biggest goal with Clean Eating Club is just really about making it as fun and easy to be healthy and building up these habits. So as we go along in Clean Eating Club, we are going to be building these habits together. It's just like a muscle. It's just like when you work out, you don't build that muscle overnight. You slowly build it over time. And I think maintaining a healthy lifestyle in a way that's actually sustainable and actually feels good to you, it really is about creating that muscle. And it will come. It will come with time. And it's something that ideally we can do together with a lot of support. Yeah, Katrina says, "I love frozen veggies and fruit." Yeah, me too. Another great one to keep around is frozen strawberries. It actually, I think it tastes so good in a smoothie, like frozen strawberries, organic ones ideally, because I don't know if you guys know about this, the Dirty Dozen, but the Dirty Dozen kind of tells you which fruits and vegetables have like the most pesticides, and so those are the ones. Like if you're only going to eat some things organic, the Dirty Dozen, that's a great list to be like, okay, those things on the Dirty Dozen list, eat organic. And unfortunately, strawberries is on the Dirty Dozen list. So we make sure we always have organic strawberries. But that's just a little good thing to know. So thank you guys so much for joining me today. It was a lot of fun. Sorry for the technical difficulties in the beginning, but this was a lot of fun to do, and I hope to do more of them in the future. I do have the link to Clean Eating Club in bio on my YouTube channel, but once this video is going to go public after we finish, so I'm also going to put it in the comments. And if you guys are on my email list, you probably already got an email about it. If you're not on my email list, you can sign up. I'm going to put a link to that in the description as well. I like to share a lot of healthy tips, a lot of little things that I'm learning along the way, and I share about my travels. So, yeah, join us. And oh, no problem, Liz. This is going to be on replay. Yeah. So this will be on replay. You guys can watch it afterwards if you want. But thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate you guys being here and being so supportive. And yeah, I will see you all soon, one way or another, either email, Clean Eating Club channel. So I'm sending so much love to you guys. Bye.